If you're not as wealthy as you'd like to be, it's not because you're lazy or incapable. It's because you've been playing by rules designed to keep you stuck. You were sold a lie about what wealth really is. You've mistaken your paycheck for security, your grind for progress, your job for ownership. But real wealth? It's built through control, boring businesses, and cash flow machines. The rich aren't playing harder. They're playing a different game entirely. If you're tired of feeling behind, maybe it's time to wake up, stop following the script, and start building a life you actually own. If you're not as wealthy as you'd like to be, there's a very good chance it's because you've been sold the wrong definition of wealth. And I don't mean that in a woo-woo, vague, money doesn't matter kind of way. I mean it very practically. Most people are chasing a target they don't even understand. They think wealth means a certain number in the bank, or driving a certain kind of car, or wearing a watch that signals I made it. But none of that is actually wealth. That's consumption. That's the byproduct. Real wealth is control. Real wealth is options. It's owning your time and having the freedom to decide what you do with it. Here's the trap. Most people are told to work hard, get a good job, and save their money. And yes, hard work matters. But if working hard was enough, every nurse, construction worker, and teacher would be a millionaire by now. They're some of the hardest working people in society, and yet they're not building wealth. Why? Because they're not building leverage. They're trading time for money. And the moment you stop working, the money stops too. That's not wealth. That's dependency dressed up as security. The system rewards you just enough to keep you quiet, just enough to make you feel like you're progressing, but it never teaches you ownership. And here's the thing, if you don't own, you're always renting your life from someone else. Think about it. If someone else tells you when to work, where to be, how much you get paid, and how long you can go on vacation, is that wealth? Or is that a well-decorated cage? Wealthy people think differently. They ask better questions. Not how much can I make, but how do I stop trading time for money? Not how do I get a raise, but what can I own that pays me whether I show up or not? That's the shift. That's the mindset gap between where most people are and where they want to be. You don't get wealthy by saving every penny. You get wealthy by buying back your time. You get wealthy by putting your money into things that pay you monthly. Things like boring businesses, cash flowing real estate, dividends, royalties. But before you do any of that, you need to reprogram your definition of wealth. Because if you don't know what you're aiming for, you'll never hit it. We're taught to worship the grind, but the grind is a treadmill. It doesn't go anywhere. What you want is a machine that spins on its own, with or without you. That's what the rich build. They buy things that make money while they're sleeping, while they're on vacation, while they're playing with their kids. That's not because they're lazy, it's because they understand the game. Most people chase income, wealthy people chase assets. And the key difference? Income disappears the moment you stop showing up. Assets keep going. They appreciate, they cash flow, they compound. One is a moment, the other is momentum. If you're always working in the system but never stepping above it to own the system, you're playing someone else's game. Let me say this clearly. The moment you redefine wealth as ownership, everything changes. You stop seeing money as something to spend and start seeing it as something to plant. You stop looking at a paycheck like a reward and start seeing it as a tool. You become dangerous. You start building instead of begging. You stop asking permission to live life on your terms, and you just do it. And no, it doesn't require millions in the bank to start. It just takes one step, one asset, one income stream that isn't tied to your physical effort. That's how it starts, slowly at first, then all at once. Because when your time is yours, when your income doesn't rely on anyone else's approval, when you can say no to things that don't serve you, that's wealth. That's freedom. That's the game. You've been told that success means working harder, showing up earlier, staying later. But real success is waking up and doing whatever the hell you want with your time because you've built something that pays you to exist. So the next time you feel behind, the next time you wonder why wealth seems so far out of reach, ask yourself if you're chasing money or if you're chasing freedom, because only one of those leads to the life you actually want. And once you know the difference, you'll never go back. Let's talk about the thing most people cling to like a security blanket, the paycheck. It's steady, right? Shows up every 2 weeks, direct deposit, maybe even with benefits and a little retirement match. It feels safe, but here's what no one tells you. Your paycheck is a pacifier. It soothes you just enough to stop you from questioning the cage you're in. You think you're doing everything right. You show up early. You stay late. You work hard. You check the boxes. You follow the path. But at some point, that little voice in your head starts whispering, is this it? And the problem is, The system has trained you to ignore that voice. It hands you a paycheck like a reward, pats you on the back, and tells you to be grateful. That's the trap. The paycheck is designed to keep you obedient. It conditions you to associate time with money. It tells you that if you want more, you just have to work more. Maybe get another degree. Maybe work weekends. Maybe sacrifice just a little bit more of your freedom for a slightly bigger number at the end of the month. But what if I told you that whole structure is backwards? If your only source of income is your paycheck, you're living in financial fragility. You are one layoff, one restructuring, one "we had to make some tough decisions" email away from zero. And in that moment, it won't matter how long you gave your loyalty, how many birthdays you missed for deadlines, how many vacations you skipped for the company. When it's no longer convenient for them, your paycheck stops. And so does your income. That's not freedom. That's dependence. That's not wealth. That's survival. And here's the hardest truth. Most people don't want to hear this because it means everything they've built feels shaky. But it's not about blame, it's about awareness. Once you see the system for what it is, you can start playing a different game. So ask yourself, who benefits when you stay paycheck dependent? Who gains when you believe that climbing the ladder is your only option? It's not you, because while you're giving the best hours of your day and the best years of your life to build someone else's dream, you're not building your own. Wealthy people understand this. They use paychecks as a stepping stone, not a destination. If they ever take a job, it's to learn, to network, to acquire skills, not to get comfortable. They know comfort is the enemy of growth. So they take their earned money and turn it into ownership of assets, of businesses, of systems that work without them. But when you're hooked on the paycheck, you stop looking for those options. You stop being curious. You stop taking risks. You stay small because small feels safe. And before you know it, decades pass. You wake up and realize you built someone else's empire instead of your own. Here's the shift. It's not about quitting your job tomorrow. It's about seeing your paycheck for what it is, a tool, not a crutch. Use it to fund the thing that sets you free. Use it to buy your time back. Use it to build something that doesn't stop when you stop working. That's how you go from fragile to anti-fragile, from controlled to in control. I've seen people with six-figure salaries who are broke the minute their paycheck disappears. And I've seen people with average incomes who used discipline, strategy, and cash flowing assets to build real, lasting wealth. The difference isn't the number on their paycheck. It's what they do with it and whether they understand what that paycheck really is. Because at the end of the day, the paycheck isn't the goal. Ownership is, options are, freedom is. And no matter where you start, the moment you stop being pacified by that steady drip of predictable income and start playing for leverage, that's the moment you take your power back. That's the moment you stop surviving and start building wealth. Most people are out here wearing hard work like a badge of honor, thinking if they just grind longer, hustle harder, sacrifice more, they'll eventually break through to wealth. But let me tell you something that might sting a little. Working hard won't make you rich. If hard work was the secret, every single construction worker, janitor, or nurse pulling night shifts would be a millionaire. And they're not. Because wealth doesn't reward labor. It rewards strategy. It rewards ownership. It rewards leverage. There's a difference between being a hard worker and being a smart operator. We grow up hearing work hard and good things will come. But in the real world, what happens is people work hard and they burn out. They climb corporate ladders only to realize it's leaning against the wrong building. They spend decades building someone else's dream. And when they finally look up, they've got tired backs, limited options, and no ownership. That's not wealth. That's a slow, polite trap. The wealthy, they don't hustle the way the masses do. They're not pulling 14-hour shifts every day. They're not checking in with a boss for permission to take a vacation. They use their time to buy leverage. They use capital to buy systems. They figure out how to turn one effort into 10 results, not the other way around. See, the game changes when you realize your output doesn't have to be proportional to your input. When you can decouple the hours you work from the income you generate, that's when wealth becomes real. Let's break this down simply. Imagine you spend 12 hours a day managing a business manually. You're in the weeds, you're on calls, you're doing customer service, you're sending emails, fixing issues, staying late. That's hustle, but it's also a prison. Now imagine spending 12 weeks building a system hiring the right operators, setting up automation and training your team. Now that business can run with or without you. You can step away and the cash still flows. That's the shift. That's working smart. People underestimate how powerful systems are because they can't see them. They think effort has to be visible. That's ego. That's the look how hard I work mindset. But wealthy people, they build invisible engines. Email funnels that convert while they sleep, sales teams that close deals whether they're on a beach or in a boardroom, digital products, boring businesses, licensing deals, real estate portfolios, all of them designed to scale without their constant effort. They don't work harder, they design smarter. The real flex isn't being busy, it's having the option not to be. It's waking up when you want to, choosing where your energy goes, and deciding what's worth your time. But that kind of freedom doesn't come from grinding endlessly. It comes from owning something, assets, equity, systems. That's the difference between being rich in the moment and being wealthy for life. You have to ask yourself, are you optimizing your energy or just spending it? We live in a world that glorifies burnout. People love to say, I only slept 4 hours last night, as if that's impressive. It's not. It's a signal that your system is broken. If you're constantly exhausted, constantly behind, constantly working with no end in sight, you're not on the path to wealth. You're on the path to depletion. Real success feels sustainable. It feels calm. It feels like clarity, not chaos. When I started focusing less on doing everything and more on building things that could operate without me, everything changed. My calendar got lighter, my income got higher, my stress dropped, my options multiplied. And that's when I realized the smartest people in the room aren't the loudest or the busiest. They're the ones who built something once and let it pay them forever. And this is the mindset shift. Stop asking, how can I make more money this month? Start asking, how can I set something up this month that makes me money next year too? That's the real question. That's the real wealth move. And if you're not where you want to be financially, maybe it's not because you haven't worked hard enough. Maybe it's because you've been working the wrong way. Shift your thinking. Stop being the engine. Start building engines. Everybody's chasing sexy right now. The flashy new tech startup, the AI gold rush, the crypto rebound. They want the next big thing, the unicorn that'll turn their $1,000 0 cents into $1 million overnight. It's all sizzle and no steak. And I get it. Who doesn't want a story that sounds impressive at a dinner party? But let me tell you something most wealthy people won't say out loud. The real money, the reliable money, the long-term freedom-inducing money, it's sitting in businesses no one wants to brag about. Wealth isn't always loud. In fact, the loudest players are often the ones most desperate for a win. Real wealth is quiet. It's made in places people overlook, in industries they drive past without a second glance. You know what's never going out of style? Clean clothes. Clean cars, storage for all the junk we hoard, basic services, essential needs. And while everyone's out there gambling on tech they don't understand, or businesses with burn rates higher than their profits, the boring businesses just keep stacking cash, month after month, year after year. But people avoid boring. Why? Because it doesn't stroke the ego. No one's impressed when you say, I own a dumpster rental company, or I bought a couple car washes. But that dumpster could be pulling in $20 a cent a month. That car wash might net more than your friend's high growth startup. That's the problem. We're addicted to perception. Social media has made entrepreneurship a fashion show. Everyone wants to be seen building something cool, not necessarily profitable. But if you're more worried about what your business looks like than what it earns, you're playing the wrong game. I'll take boring and profitable over flashy and fragile every single time. I know people who own vending machine routes, ATM networks, septic tank services. These folks aren't trying to go viral. They're trying to go free. And they do, because these businesses are repeatable, systemized, and cash flowing from day one. You don't have to invent the next Facebook. You just have to own something that solves a problem people are already paying for. And here's the kicker. These boring businesses are often undervalued. Why? Because most people don't want to do the work to learn how they run. They'd rather toss money into something they hope goes 10x without getting their hands dirty. But the opportunity is in the inefficiency. When nobody's looking there, that's where you look. That's where you buy. Because fewer buyers means better deals, lower risk, faster break even, and a path to wealth that's not tied to the moods of the market or the whims of Silicon Valley. This isn't theoretical. I've seen people buy laundromats for less than a used car and turn them into 5-figure monthly income streams. I've seen someone take over a pet waste removal company. Yes, literally scooping dog poop and scale it to 6 figures in net profit. You don't need genius, you need grit. You need to be willing to do what others won't, to go where others roll their eyes. And you need to see money for what it is, a tool, not a trophy. We've been taught to associate wealth with flash, but real wealth is about ownership, control, autonomy. It's about assets that earn, whether you're hustling or hiking. And if that asset happens to be boring, who cares? You think the money cares if it came from a lawn care business or an app? Money is money, and when you have enough of it working for you, you stop working for anyone else. The truth is, if you're not as wealthy as you'd like to be, maybe it's because you've been chasing exciting instead of effective. The unsexy stuff works, especially if you're early, disciplined, and patient. Stop looking for magic, start looking for cash flow, because quiet cash beats loud hype. Every single time. If you're not as wealthy as you want to be, chances are it's because you haven't built a machine that pays you when you're not working. I'm not talking about saving a little here and there or waiting for the stock market to magically turn you into a millionaire in 40 years. I'm talking about building something, owning something that produces cash consistently without you having to show up every single day. Because until you do that, you're stuck, you're dependent, and no one gets truly wealthy being dependent on someone else's system. Here's the truth most people don't want to hear. Your job is not enough. It never was. I don't care how prestigious it is, how high your title is, or how good the benefits are. If it requires your time to make money, then it is still a treadmill. You might be on the fancy treadmill, but you're still sweating in place. And when you stop running, maybe you get sick, maybe you just burn out, maybe they decide you're replaceable, the money stops too. That's not freedom. That's just a slightly shinier version of survival. Now imagine, instead, if you had an asset that sent you money every single month. Imagine your phone buzzes and it's a Stripe payout from a small digital product you created 6 months ago. Or it's rent hitting your account from a property you own, or profits from a vending machine route, or dividend checks from a boring business you bought off someone ready to retire. That's not a fantasy, that's a system. That's a cash flow machine. And that's the real foundation of wealth. Most people wait too long to start thinking like this. They keep thinking they'll save their way to freedom. But let's be honest, no one saves their way to wealth. You cannot shrink your way into abundance. Cutting lattes isn't going to change your life. You need income on repeat without manual effort every time. That's what separates those who struggle month to month from those who build real financial power. It's not about working harder. It's about owning the thing that pays you. This is the part where people usually say, well, I don't have money to invest in a business or real estate or anything like that. And I get it. But here's the thing. Everyone starts somewhere. You don't need to start with millions. You need to start with momentum. Find one small asset that pays you. Maybe it's a tiny blog with affiliate links. Maybe it's a digital download. Maybe it's flipping free furniture on Facebook Marketplace until you've got $5.00 K to buy a vending machine or partner in a small biz. The key isn't the size, it's the cash flow. Even $200.00 a month from an asset starts shifting your mindset. You stop thinking like a consumer and you start thinking like an owner. Once you get one stream, you build a second, then a third. That's when things start to compound. That's when time starts to work for you instead of against you. The world opens up when you're not hustling to cover rent. You can say no to bad deals, bad jobs, bad people. You can invest, travel, build, think without constantly worrying about money. That's the gift cash flow assets give you, space. And in that space, real wealth gets created. Let me say it plainly. Wealthy people do not rely on effort alone. They build systems. They own equity. They design a life where money shows up whether they're working or not. And the sooner you start building your own cash flow machine, the sooner you stop living in reaction and start living with intention. This isn't theory, it's a decision. You can keep exchanging time for dollars and hoping one day the math will magically add up, or you can decide to break the cycle. Buy the asset, build the stream, learn the skill, start small, stay consistent, stack ownership, because that is how wealth is built. And it's how freedom is won. If you're not as wealthy as you want to be, chances are you're playing someone else's game. And the truth is, you probably didn't even realize it, because that's how well the game is rigged. From the moment we're born, we're handed a script. Go to school, get good grades, get into a good college, take on some debt, get a job, climb the ladder, save a little, maybe invest in a 401k, retire at 65. That's the game. And most people don't question it. They follow it like it's gospel. But here's the catch. This game wasn't built with your financial freedom in mind. It was built to keep the machine running. Schools were designed during the Industrial Revolution to create obedient workers, not entrepreneurs or owners. You're taught to memorize, not question, to fit in, not stand out. And that mentality doesn't just vanish when you graduate. It follows you into adulthood, into your job, into your finances. We were never taught to build wealth. We were taught to be good employees, reliable, replaceable. The system conditions you to believe that if you just work hard enough, if you're loyal enough, eventually it'll pay off. But here's the thing, they don't reward the most loyal. They reward the ones who own. And if you don't own anything, assets, equity, time, you're not playing to win, you're playing to survive. Let me ask you something. Who benefits when you stick to the script? Who wins when you work 40 hours a week, keep your head down, collect your paycheck, and don't rock the boat? It's not you. It's the people who own the system, the ones who created it, the ones who've already opted out of the rules you're still trying to play by. While you're grinding for a raise, they're buying the building your office rents space in. While you're hoping for a promotion, they're hiring your boss to run one of their portfolio companies. See, they don't play the game, they design it. And the moment you realize that, everything changes. Because now you get to stop being a piece on the board and start becoming the player. You stop asking for permission and start building your own path. That's where real wealth begins. Most people think playing it safe means staying in a job, getting benefits, saving up slowly, but there's nothing safe about relying on one source of income you don't control. That's a risk. That's a gamble. Because if someone else can decide your fate with one meeting, one budget cut, one shift in direction, you're not in control. You're just hoping nothing goes wrong. Wealthy people don't rely on hope. They rely on leverage, ownership, asymmetric bets. They build income streams that don't need them to clock in. So they own businesses that run without them. They buy assets that grow even when they're offline. That's not luck. That's design. They made a conscious choice to step outside the game most people are stuck in. And here's what's wild. Opting out isn't reserved for the rich. Anyone can do it. You don't need a fancy degree or $1 million in the bank to start owning your time. You need awareness, you need discipline, and you need the courage to walk away from a system that promises comfort but delivers mediocrity. It starts small. Maybe it's buying a cash-flowing business instead of putting more money into stocks you don't understand. Maybe it's building a side hustle that grows into your exit plan. Maybe it's learning how to turn your skills into a product instead of clocking in to build someone else's dream. Every step away from the traditional path is a step closer to wealth, not just money, but the kind of wealth that gives you choices. And listen, when you step out of the system, you'll feel resistance. Your family might not get it. Your friends might think you're crazy. That's normal because you're disrupting the cycle they're still trapped in. But when you break free, when you start seeing money through the lens of ownership and control, you don't go back. You can't unsee it. If you're not as wealthy as you'd like to be, maybe it's time to stop playing their game and start building your own.